Now I'm going to show you how to actually create a multiple choice question in the quiz. So far I haven't created any questions. So when you're creating the quiz or after you've saved your details, you'll want to click on the second tab in that just says questions. And this is one that I've already created one for. Let me delete that. So if you haven't created any questions yet, it'll look like this. Typically, the way you'll want to proceed is just to click plus new question, which will create a new question in your quiz. And then you're just so depending on what kind of question it is, you will create your question. So the box to the left here is just, honestly, I mostly don't change it, but you can change it to say whatever you want. So like if it says Q1, that'll be what the question looks like. But the main thing is that there's a choice in what the type of question is and how many points it's worth over here. So depending on what you're doing, you can set the point values for all the different problems that appear in your quiz. The important thing here is to look at all the different types of problems that are available here. So I'll just quickly run through these. So there's multiple choice questions. So like you choose between one possible answer, A, B, C, D, whatever. True and false questions. So obviously that only has two choices. A true and false question is actually just a multiple choice question with two possibilities. There's fill in the blank questions, so if it's a vocabulary word you're trying to get somebody to put in, you can make them type something in that matches a predefined answer. You can have multiple fill in the blanks that basically does all of those things. There's one here that I think is deceptively called multiple answers. And what that is basically a checkbox. So like you can offer like 10 possible choices of answers, and maybe only 3 of them are the correct one. And so the student would have to choose which one is the correct one, or the correct ones in that case. There's multiple drop-downs, which is if it's sort of like having multiple fill in the blanks, except for each blank has multiple choice associated with it. Matching, where you provide essentially words on the left and words on the right, and you try and get them to match which ones go with which. Numerical answers, which are pretty useful for mechanical engineers, which include having to type in a numeric, essentially you tell the student the problem setup and then you ask them to type in the answer numerically. I will tell you that Canvas has somewhat limited abilities to do this very well, but in principle it can handle it. I'll talk a little bit more about that soon, but there's formula questions, which are they're similar to numerical answer questions, only in a formula question you can have more than, essentially you can have Canvas set it up so that the numerical parameters that are provided for a numerical problem change depending on who's taking the quiz. It basically randomly spawns the numbers that appear in the questions, and then you provide some kind of formula to Canvas that helps it figure out what the correct numerical answer is supposed to be. So the numerical answer is not the same every time. So a lot of people might find that of interest. I often use essay questions actually to gauge whether students actually understand things. And then the only problem with essay questions is, of course, they require some manual grading. So that's the main downside. The last one here is actually quite interesting, called the file upload question. A file upload question basically means that a student has to upload some kind of file as the answer. I'll show you, there are lots of different cool uses for that. You can have students go on a web search to find some resource and show you that they found something by uploading it. You can also use this as a way to collect work that's done on paper. So in the file upload question, a student who's using the app can take a picture of whatever it is they were doing and upload the picture as the answer. And then you can manually grade that answer if you want to. Or I know that a lot of people actually use this as a supplementary question, they might even assign 0 grade to it, where you're providing numerical answers, but then you also have to show your work. And the way that you show your work is by uploading the answer, you're uploading a picture of your work through the file upload question. So I'll talk about that too. And then of course there's this stupid option here, which is no question, right? You can just type text into a box and then, basically it's not scored, but you can introduce something, which is really not required because like any of these questions have a descriptive text that goes before it. So I've never personally used that option before. Let me break this right here. So that's just a description of what these things are, and then I'll go through these kind of quickly one by one to show you what they look like.